Once upon a time in a small village called Aim, there lived two sisters called Nora and Faith. Nora was exceptionally beautiful and blessed with a lovely voice, while Faith wasn't as beautiful as her sister Nora. The reason was because when Faith was a child, she was involved in a domestic accident where hot oil splashed on her face, leaving her with a nasty scar on her face, which wasn't pleasant to look at. Everyone loved and admired Nora, but Faith, who was the younger sister, was usually ignored. They were sisters, but as time went on, Nora became very proud and arrogant because of the constant praises from men in the village. She stopped going out with her sister and was ashamed to be seen anywhere with Faith. However, Faith knew the reason why Nora kept her distance, and it hurt her so much. But eventually, she learned how to enjoy her own company. Her parents didn't make things easier because whenever a guest or a suitor visited them, they would always tell Faith to go inside and stay hidden until their guests left. Almost every night, Faith would cry her eyes out and beg God to take her life. She was ashamed to look at the mirror because of how she looked. Faith lived as a maid at home because her parents would prefer to send her on errands, rather than send her elder sister Nora. One day, Faith went to fetch some water at the village stream. On her way back home, she saw an old woman on the path which led to her house. The old woman looked very tired as she sat down by the roadside with a big pot of water by her side. Faith greeted the woman and walked past her, but she felt sorry for the old woman, and so she turned around. Faith kept her own pot of water safely hidden beside a big tree and offered to help the woman carry her own water. The woman thanked Faith for her generosity and kindness and stood up to lead Faith to where she lived. She was very old and couldn't walk without a stick, and this made Faith wonder how the old woman carried the big pot of water all by herself to where she had previously met her. But Faith didn't say anything. She followed the old woman patiently with the pot of water on her head. They walked and walked until they got to an isolated hut in the forest. When they arrived at the hut, Faith kept the pot of water for the old woman, but as soon as she was about to leave, the old woman said to her, "You have a very good heart. Many people saw me stranded by the roadside, but none of them came to my aid. Because of your kindness, I would grant your deepest heart's desire." The old woman gave Faith a special cream wrapped in a rare leaf. "Take this cream. It is a magical cream made from a blend of many special herbs. Apply it on your face when you want to go out, and you will look beautiful as the morning sun. Any man you kiss on the lips with this cream on your face would forever see you as a star." Faith collected the magical cream and thanked the woman. When she got home, she hid it in the roof of her room, but she was scared of using it because she didn't know the old woman. A lot of men were attracted to Nora. They would buy her all sorts of gifts and jewelry just to impress her and win her heart. But Nora refused to settle down with any of them. She enjoyed being chased and wanted to continue enjoying the benefits of being chased. One day, a very handsome and wealthy man came for Nora's hand in marriage. He had brought with him a lot of gifts and provisions. As they sat in the compound discussing the marriage plans, Faith showed up. She was previously sent to the market to get some things, and she had no idea that there would be visitors in the compound. Immediately Nora saw her. She screamed at Faith in anger. "You ugly thing! Why do you want to spoil this beautiful day of mine with your ugly face?" Everyone looked at Faith and started laughing. She couldn't bear the shame, so she ran into her room and started crying bitterly. While she was crying, she looked up and remembered the magical cream which the old woman had given her weeks ago. Without thinking twice, she took the cream and rubbed a bit of it on her face. Immediately she finished applying the cream, she felt a strange aura of confidence, but she was still deeply hurt, so she fell asleep. The next day, Faith woke up and went into the forest to fetch some firewood as usual. On her way to the forest, she found it very strange that all men that she passed were looking at her. It made her very uncomfortable, and she felt something must be wrong with her face. Before, people didn't look at her twice, but now, everyone was so focused on her. She wanted to run back home, but she knew what to expect if she didn't return home with some firewood. So she continued her journey into the forest. After fetching the firewood, she tried to lift it up on her head when a very handsome man showed up out of nowhere. His name was Charlie. "Let me help you," Charlie said. Faith was shocked because this would be the first time that anyone would talk to her or offer assistance to her. "Are you talking to me?" Faith asked, surprised. "Of course. Why would an angel like you be carrying such a heavy load all by yourself?" "An angel? Me? Or should I call you a goddess instead? Your beauty is unlike any I've ever seen before." Faith couldn't believe her ears. It was the first time that anyone would tell her that she's beautiful. She watched as Charlie carried the firewood on his shoulder, and she led the way to her house. While they walked, Charlie told Faith that he liked her and would love to know her more. Faith felt like she was dreaming. Even the worst man in the village avoided her. Yet Charlie was here asking her to be his lover. When they arrived at her compound, Nora was seated outside the house. She watched closely as Charlie kept the firewood beside the fire. Before Charlie left, he hugged Faith and kissed her on the forehead. When Nora saw this, she became very jealous. Despite the fact that she had all the men in the village running after her, she felt jealous and envious that Charlie, just one man, was interested in her sister. Nora went to meet Faith and started asking her where and how she knew Charlie, but Faith ignored her, and this made her even more angry. When Faith entered her room, she remembered the cream the old woman gave her, and when she rubbed it, she then realized that the cream must be the reason why all the men were attracted to her. The next day, Faith rubbed the cream again before she went to the stream to fetch some water and met Charlie waiting for her already. "I knew you'd come here, so I waited for you. Let me help you with the water." As time went on, Faith grew fonder and fonder of Charlie. He was a very nice and caring man, but Faith was scared. She wasn't sure if Charlie loved her because of the supernatural beauty which the magical cream gave her, or because of her personality. Meanwhile, Nora was driven by hatred and jealousy that Charlie was always around Faith. Despite the fact that she had many men running after her and that she could get any man she wanted with her beauty, Nora vowed to snatch Charlie away from Faith. The next time Charlie accompanied Faith from the market, Nora moved closer to him and started trying to seduce him. Charlie was not enticed at all. He was not moved by her actions. "Leave that ugly girl and take me. I promise I would make you happy. What would it take to win your heart? Tell me. I would do it," Nora said. But Charlie insisted that Faith was the woman he wanted. Whenever Nora looked at her sister Faith, the nasty scars were there. But whenever any man looked at her, they saw a very beautiful lady, even more prettier than Nora. Nora was driven by frustration, so one day she decided to monitor Faith. She was convinced that Faith was up to something. That was the only way she could explain why all men who disliked her before suddenly wanted her. That morning, Nora got up very early and stayed at Faith's window, peeping through to see what Faith would do. She watched as Faith unsuspectingly took the cream from where she hid it and rubbed it on her face. Then she observed where Faith hid the cream. When Faith left for the forest to fetch firewood, Nora sneaked into her room and took the cream. She thought that the cream must be the reason why all men in the village suddenly loved Faith. So she rubbed some of the cream on her face as well. But immediately she rubbed the cream on her face, she started feeling a burning sensation on her face. It started getting hotter and hotter by each passing minute that Nora quickly ran to wash her face when the pain was becoming unbearable. When her parents saw her, they were shocked to see her face. The cream she rubbed had completely destroyed her face, that she looked worse than Faith. When Faith returned from the market with Charlie as usual, she couldn't believe her eyes when she saw her elder sister Nora. Her face was so red and discoloured and very burnt. Immediately Nora saw Faith. She started pleading for her forgiveness. "Please forgive me. I'm deeply sorry for what I did to you. Please forgive me." Faith didn't understand why Nora was apologizing. She knew Nora to be very arrogant and proud, so it came as a shock. "What did you do?" "I've always made peace with the way you treated me, and I still love you even though you treat me harshly. I still love you." Nora started weeping seriously. She held Faith's hand and told her that she had a confession to make. Nora told Faith and her parents that when they were still little, her parents had loved and cherished her so much. They gave her anything she wanted because she was their only child, and they made her feel very loved. But when they gave birth to Faith, it was like they shifted all the love and attention to Faith and stopped caring about her. Faith was more beautiful than she was when she was a child, so everyone focused more on Faith than they focused on her. This made Nora very jealous, so out of envy, Nora placed a pan of hot oil on top of the cupboard. And then she told Faith to go and bring it, knowing fully well that Faith was little and that the hot oil would pour on her. Nora confessed that she did it on purpose so that she would be the only beautiful daughter and everyone would stop treating Faith special. They were all shocked at Nora's confession. Her parents were disappointed in her, but Faith told her that she had forgiven her since it was in the past. All the men in the village avoided Nora because of how burnt her face was. And after hearing what she did to her own sister, they disliked her. Nora lived in pain for the rest of her life, and in regret. Faith got married to Charlie, and after Charlie kissed her, she had no need for the cream anymore. They had beautiful children, and they both lived happily ever after. The moral lesson of this story is that you must learn to balance love between your children. Do not favor one over the other. Show each and every one of them equal love, and don't make anyone your favorite, because doing this would only create hatred between them and eventually bring division. Always be good even to strangers because you don't know where your help might come from. Beauty is like a flower that fades quickly. If you find someone that worships and loves and adores you genuinely, stick to that person and overcome the arrogance and pride that comes with being wanted by so many people. Thank you so much for watching, and please do not forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you enjoy this story, give it a thumbs up, comment and share. Thank you, and God bless you.